what many have called the anarchy, but was there a planned script that it was all being played out to? Now, viewers, this story that we want you to pause and take a closer look, frame by frame, the visuals which reveal what unfolded on Monday morning in the heart of Noida's Phase 2 industrial belt, where a routine protest quickly spiraled into scenes of chaos. We are going to show you the visuals. These visuals which will show you the tension, the large-scale disruption. The visuals on your screen that we are about to show for you will show you the major breakthrough which may have been attained and how there seems to be a larger plot. In fact, look at the visuals that I have been talking about. Let's put them on your screens and show you just what happened yesterday.
सैलरी कभी नहीं मिलती और यहाँ तक सैलरी स्लिप तक नहीं देते हैं।
हमें जो भी सैलरी मिल रही है वो 10,000 रुपए अभी तक मिल रही है, अब वो भी 8 घंटे की है।
हमारी सैलरी 20,000 जब सरकार ने कहा तो सरकार ने 20,000 क्यों नहीं सैलरी बढ़ाई जा रही है?
हमें सिर्फ और सिर्फ सैलरी से मतलब है, हमारी 18 से 20,000 सैलरी होनी चाहिए।
उसमें हमारा खर्चा नहीं चल रहा है, हम रेंट पे रहते हैं, उसे मकान मालिक को देना या बिजली बिल देना या खाना या उसमें बचाना।
You could see some of them were masked. You could see how CCTV cameras were disrupted. They were systematically killed so that there is no evidence which is being left behind. And how were thousands of people together erupt at the same time? Who mobilized them? These are some of the questions which were being asked. Now, in a major breakthrough, you have top sources within the Uttar Pradesh police who have revealed that the violence was a meticulously orchestrated conspiracy, that there were 200 suspects who have been rounded up, with about 5 to 6 being identified as the key perpetrators. Investigators have uncovered a link to an ultra-leftist group which hijacked the workers' protest and incited the crowd into violence. Sources say that there were specific groups of individuals who were systematically transporting petrol from distant areas, locations as well, for this organized, what appears to be and allegedly is organized violence. These are the latest visuals which are coming in from earlier today. This is from Clio County, one of the posh localities and societies in Noida, where you can see even here there are protests which have been erupted. Second day of protests which are happening, what appears to be a large crowd of people, and there appears to be pelting and vandalism as well. Who really is inciting these mobs? Not just once, but for the second day running? Well, these are some of the questions that we are going to show for you. Next, we are going to show you visuals from Noida Phase 2, where you will be able to see workers who are protesting at the government refinery as well. In fact, these are the protests, I beg your pardon, which are coming in from Noida, where you can see the police has swung into action. Some of the people who were accused of rioting, of vandalism, have been rounded out. You can see the police there, riot police in full riot gear, in hot pursuit of people. But again, these questions are being risen and asked about why there are so many people who really mobilize hundreds of people together at that spot. Well, which is why here we are going to tell you about the larger conspiracy which is now slowly unwinding as well, as we get you these visuals of Noida as well. Let's show you the next set of visuals which are going to be of a reminder that we were showing you earlier of what happened in Noida. Now, this is one of the places, one of the offices where the about 100 of the workers were protesting against what they wanted was a pay hike. But this is the way that they all entered. You can see how the gates of the compound were brought down. It was breached. It was locked. These locks were open. They used sticks. And what's very interesting, once you see this entire mob entering the compound, you can see several of them are actually wearing masks as well, Why are they wearing masks and hankies around their faces if they felt that they were above the law? If they felt their actions were something which were legally acceptable? Because this is vandalism. Yes, there are ways to protest. And yes, it is a peaceful protest that everyone has a constitutional right for. But not vandalism, not arson, and definitely not anarchy. Let's get you more reactions which are coming in. Let's tell you how Rahul Gandhi has also posted. He has strongly reacted to the recent developments which have happened in Noida. In fact, Rahul Gandhi has described the situation as the final cry of India's workers, who he says have been long ignored despite repeated appeals. In fact, Rahul Gandhi has highlighted the economic pressures on the workers as well. This is the post that Rahul Gandhi has put out where he points to low wages, rising rents and inflation. He's argued that salaries are not keeping pace with the cost of living. Rahul Gandhi has also cited other factors such as rising fuel and gas prices. Remember, this at a time when there has been a war at Gulf, which is why there has been an impact as well on the prices of fuel. In fact, let's get you what exactly it is that Rahul Gandhi has said verbatim in the post. And this is the post that he's put out. We are going to show you this post. It says, what happened yesterday on the roads of Noida was the final cry of the country's workers, one whose very voice was ignored, who grew weary from endless pleading. A worker in Noida earns a monthly salary of 12,000 rupees. His rent costs about 4,000 to 7,000 rupees by the time he gets 300 rupees annual raise. The landlord hikes the rent by 500 rupees a year. He goes on to say, till the salary catches up, this runaway inflation chokes the life out of him, drowns him in the depths of debt. That's the truth of developed India, Viksit India. He says a female worker has said that gas prices keep rising, but our salaries don't. These people probably shelled out 5,000 rupees for a cylinder just to light the stove at home during this entire fuel crisis. Goes on to say this isn't just about Noida and it's not just about India either. Fuel prices are skyrocketing worldwide. The supply chain has snapped due to the war in West Asia. This is what Rahul Gandhi has said. Yes, there is angst about the fuel price rise. However, questions are going to be asked whether the means of protests are acceptable. If a protest descends into arson, into vandalism, into violence, and even pelting at the police. Let me go across to Shivam as well as Priyank, who are joining us with all the details. First, I'm going to go across to Shivam, who's there on the ground telling us what the situation is like. And then I'm going to be speaking to Priyank about the probe. He's going to tell us how there may be a larger plan afoot. First, Shivam, what's the situation like on the ground? Because I believe for the second day as well, there are again protests which have spiraled out.
Exactly, Meghna. This time it is Sector 70 and Sector 121. Clio County is the society outside which the protest erupted. It started with certain, what we've been given to understand, house help demanding for increase in wage price and then the security guard. But soon, while they were raising the slogans, soon you have seen suddenly a group of protesters, almost hijack the protest, and then there is stone pelting. Then there is targeting the people. Then suddenly the chaos erupts in the entire area, which makes the police to take prompt action, and then they, make sure, the police officials make sure that the crowd is dispersed from this entire area. This chaos erupted almost 1 hour ago in Clio County, a very posh society of Noida. Remember, yesterday, while it happened in the industrial area, Phase 2 was the area which is an industrial area. There we have seen workers coming in and then the chaos erupting. Today it was near a residential accommodation area. So this makes it more troublesome because now the people living in the residential area are not safe. Stones were being pelted is what we have been given to understand. There were, attempts of hurting the people, hurting the local people who were going by there, and still the police is trying to investigate that if it started with certain housemates or house help asking for the increase in wage. That too, after today in the morning, the UP government has officially announced, they have officially revised the rate. They have given the new interim rates. For unskilled labor, it has increased from over 11,000 to over 13,000, and then respectively for semi-skilled as well as highly skilled labor as well. So this time we are seeing in a posh society the protest emerging.
Absolutely. Very interesting how there is a large scale that we can see about where the protests have now been emerging. But now let's get you the big exclusive here on Setting the Agenda. Let's tell you about the larger possible plot which is now slowly appearing. Well, it all started when a protest over salary hikes escalated sharply into violence in Noida. We got you those visuals. But now we are going to tell you about what the hidden hand may just be about. Turning parts of the Hosiery complex phase 2 into a scene of chaos, of arson, of heavy police deployment. We got you those visuals. While workers cited that this was wage-related grievances, the investigators are now examining whether the unrest was spontaneous or if it was part of a larger coordinated, mobilized attempt that went way beyond Noida. In fact, there is CCTV footage access from Sector 63, which shows mass protesters moving through the industrial area during the unrest, with multiple visuals which are now indicating targeting disruption and damage to surveillance system. In fact, visuals on your screens, you will now see police are indicating that the preliminary investigation has flagged the possible use of closed messaging groups, including WhatsApp as well. But before that, on your screens, you'll be able to see the masked men. I was referring to it earlier as well. If you felt you were not doing anything wrong, if you're just fighting for your rights, why were you covering your faces with hankies, as many of them there have actually done that? That is the first exclusive that we are getting for you, that there were indeed people who were masked. They were armed. They all came with sticks. Why were they mobilizing if they merely wanted what was their right, which was a hike in their salaries? Why did they come with iron rods and wooden sticks if they were only asking for their rights? And also, the second bit that we were telling you about, that there is now preliminary investigation which has flagged the possible use of closed messaging groups, such as WhatsApp networks, which were being used to coordinate the movements, the timing, and the mobilization of the participants ahead of the protests. Officials are saying that the digital footprint is also under review and may point towards advanced planning rather than a possible escalation on ground. So there you have it, the larger bit which is now coming to light, a pattern of chaos which may have been orchestrated. Listen in to what the top cops are saying.
पिछले कुछ दिनों में 3-4 दिनों के अंदर ही ऐसे बहुत सारे फर्जी ट्विटर हैंडल्स या अन्य सोशल मीडिया के अकाउंट्स बनाए गए हैं, जिसके माध्यम से लगातार श्रमिकों को उकसाने, वायलेंस करने के लिए, फैक्ट्रियों में आगजनी करने के लिए, पुलिस के संग भिड़ने के लिए उकसाया जाता रहा है। इसमें कुछ ऐसे भी कल 2 अकाउंट्स पता चले थे, जिसमें से कुछ तो बॉट हैं जो जेनरिक कमेंट डाल रहे हैं। इसका मतलब ये है कि संगठित रूप से पीछे से कोई कॉल सेंटर चला के या तकनीक का यूज करके इस तरह के ग्रुपों को उकसाने का काम कर रहा है। कई ऐसे पिछले 2 दिनों में व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप श्रमिकों के बनाए गए हैं, जिसमें QR कोड स्कैन करके और उनको व्हाट्सएप में ग्रुप में ज्वाइन कराया जा रहा है। इसका मतलब सिस्टमैटिक रूप से पीछे से काम करने वाला एक संगठित गिरोह है।
So was this part of a larger conspiracy, and is there a hidden hand? Let's put all the dots together to put the larger picture in focus. First, that there were mass groups which were moving in coordination. Can that happen if they were not closely coordinated? Second point, there was CCTV cameras which were targeted, means that there was systematic disruption of evidence which was done when CCTV cameras are targeted and specifically broken so that their faces are not captured. Third, the mass police crackdown. Over 200 people have now been detained in this case. 200 people. And also, let's not forget, the accused were traced to multiple states. The accused are from Bihar, from Chhattisgarh, from Telangana. So this is a pan-India footprint which is now emerging, that this is not just from one state. These are people from many, many states. Who was mobilizing them? How did they all come together? The digital coordination is also now under probe, because clearly there was digital coordination which was done. They were using WhatsApp groups. They were using AI bots. If there are AI bots involved, if there are WhatsApp chats, who was operating them? And more importantly, for what? What was the hidden agenda That's the question. Also, there was misinformation campaigns. Bot handles were used to spread rumors, is what the allegation is, as per sources, that they were using and sustained way putting out fakery as well as rumors to try and incite the mobs, is the big allegation coming in. And also, what the police are now looking at. Were they militia-style operations which were carried out? This is what the police is looking into. This is what sources are alleging, that perhaps some of them were trained execution under a probe. Who was giving this training of militia-style operations? Well, the police are still working onto it. With that, more breaking news which is coming in. Top sources within the Uttar Pradesh police have claimed a major breakthrough in the investigation into the Noida violence. They are stating that the unrest was not spontaneous, but it was a carefully orchestrated conspiracy. According to these sources, a specific group allegedly linked to ultra-left elements was trained to carry out arson and systematically move from one location to the other, including multiple hotspots, in a coordinated manner. That investigators also claim that attempts were being made to destroy digital evidence, as I was telling you, including CCTV footage, even media recordings which were tried to be deleted. The probe further suggests that there is involvement of individuals from multiple states, with over 200 arrests being made so far, several suspects identified as the perpetrators. Police also allege that fake social media accounts, WhatsApp messages, all of that was used to create panic and later traced and disrupted by the cyber units. So the investigation is still underway. The officers say they are continuing to piece together with the wider network, which is why let me go across to Priyank, who's getting us minute-by-minute exclusives coming in only here on Times Now. We are keeping you ahead with the probe of the Noida police. Priyank, this is very dangerous. Yesterday, all of us were impacted by the unrest that we saw, the anarchy, what many are calling it, on the roads of Noida, long traffic jams everywhere from Delhi to Noida, everything was blocked. But now, this is disturbing. It may not be localized protests, that there may be a larger conspiracy behind it. Tell us, what have you heard?
See, Meghna, what we are telling to our viewers, this will be a documented fact whenever the matter will go to the court, and this is the initial finding report of the Noida police officials who have submitted this inquiry report to the headquarters back there in Lucknow. There are several things which they have been taken into consideration. There was a particular group which was involved in the arson because at 4 to 5 locations, what we have seen, that vehicles were damaged because of the arson which happened in the private vehicle, which has caused loss to many of these private individuals. The manner in which these individuals had opened the bonnet of the vehicle and the manner in which they have set afire these vehicles, it's certainly showing that these were the trained individuals. Meghna, you and I cannot suddenly go to a location, open a vehicle and can set that vehicle on fire, because there has to be technique which can be involved, which takes time. But the manner in which these individuals have done has certainly shown a pattern which shows that they were trained. There were a group of individuals who have been arrested who are from the background where the left, ultra-left, extremism had been on a peak, and we know it for the fact that after the wipe-up of the Naxal operation, many of these individuals have moved out from there. There are patterns which are also showing that these groups have been from those dominated area where we have seen ultra-left wing extremism. Now the fact of the matter is that who were the key conspirator? The cops have also gone through the CCTV footage analysis and the social media pattern, which shows that there were groups which were formed just a short while before this arson could happen. QR codes were used to join groups for these individuals, and social media bot accounts were created. When the social media cell of the Uttar Pradesh police finally identified these bot accounts were pulled down by the government in coordination with the social media platform. But before that, screenshots were taken, and through QR code, these screenshots were shared in the WhatsApp group. So this is not a job of an unskilled labor. We are talking about 4 categories, Meghna. First one is unskilled, second one is skilled, third one is half skilled, and fourth one is totally skilled. So this particular category is not a techie involved operative, which is certainly establishing that there is much to it which need to be unearthed. This is the initial finding which is suggesting people may laugh on it, but this is what is going to be documented before the court of law.
This is what the facts are saying and suggesting. Importantly, Priyank, stay with us. Importantly, before Noida, there have been similar protests as well by industrial workers, which have been reported. And this is across multiple industrial hubs. This includes Barauni in Bihar, Surat in Gujarat, Manesar, as well as Panipat in Haryana. All of them, and these are some of the visuals that we are getting for you across different states. You have Noida in Uttar Pradesh, Manesar in Haryana, then you have Panipat as well. This is how the protests have erupted, and this have been in the last less than a month. These kind of protests have been carried out in several areas, all of them centered around demands for higher wages for industrial workers, better working conditions, and timely overtime payments. In fact, in several of these locations, and this includes Panipat and Surat, demonstration had escalated into violent clashes with incidents of stone pelting, of vandalism, of industrial property as well, and in some cases you had vehicles being set on fire. Officials and investigators have been examining whether these incidents represent coordinated mobilization across industrial zones rather than independent, spontaneous protests. It is also to be noted that the Noida agitation came closely after wage revision decisions in neighboring Haryana, raising questions about whether local grievances were amplified and channeled through wider networks. The opposition leaders are now raising questions over whether the Noida violence is an isolated labor dispute or part of a deeper coordinated conspiracy with wider political and security implications.
देखिए, जो नोएडा में हुआ है उसमें किसी बड़ी और गहरी साजिश की बू आ रही है। 4 आतंकवादियों का गिरफ्तार होना, 2 मेरठ और 2 नोएडा, और जो प्रथम चरण की जांच हमारी एजेंसियों ने किया है, इन आतंकवादियों का कनेक्शन पाकिस्तान से, जो पाकिस्तान में हैंडलर बैठे हुए हैं, उनके बताए गए रास्ते पर, उनके मार्गदर्शन में ये काम कर रहे हैं।
Well, in fact, workers have been arguing that there have been rising inflation and costs of living, which has made their current wages unsustainable. This wage gap has now become a central grievance and a rallying point for the protests. However, are the protests being hijacked? That's the question. Yes, there are important issues which must be addressed, but it should not be done by vested interests. What are the core demands of the workers, which everyone has been backing, including Rahul Gandhi? Well, the first demand is increase in the monthly wages. Interestingly, that has already been announced in a state like Uttar Pradesh. Demand 2 is the payment for overtime work and timely payment for this overtime work. Third demand is the regulation of shift timings, is something that the workers have been demanding. Also, no irregular wage disbursements should be made. They've also demanded better working conditions for the people who are working in these factories. The labor welfare improvement is also one of their demands when it comes to the government. Well, meanwhile, the Noida police have been stating that strict legal action is going to be taken against anyone who's found responsible for spreading panic, for provoking unrest or circulating misleading information on digital platforms. Well, this has stepped up the action after Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath issued his first response on the developments, alleging that a conspiracy has been hatched to disturb law and order in the state. Listen in to the Chief Minister.
कुछ लोग उस शांति को समृद्धि की ओर बढ़ने से रोकने के लिए अशांति पैदा करने के भी षड्यंत्र कर रहे हैं। मैं अपील करूंगा सभी औद्योगिक इकाइयों में कार्यरत कार्मिकों से और औद्योगिक इकाइयों में कार्यरत श्रमिकों से भी, याद करिए ये डबल इंजन की सरकार आपके साथ कैसे खड़ी होती है। कोरोना कालखंड में आपने देखा होगा।
Well, as the investigations continue, let's remember that violence in this case does not win wages. It doesn't fix delayed salaries or unsafe factories. It hands the narrative to the other side. If there was an instigation, if there was a conspiracy to hijack the protest, it worked. The pictures tell the story. The real question now isn't just who did it, it's who's paying for it as well. We leave you with these visuals.
तक नहीं देते हैं।
हमें जो भी सैलरी मिल रही है वो 10,000 रुपए अभी तक मिल रही है, अब वो भी 8 घंटे की है।
हमारी सैलरी 20,000 जब सरकार ने कहा तो सरकार ने 20,000 क्यों नहीं सैलरी बढ़ाई जा रही है?
हमें सिर्फ और सिर्फ सैलरी से मतलब है, हमारी 18 से 20,000 सैलरी होनी चाहिए।
उसमें हमारा खर्चा नहीं चल रहा है, हम रेंट पे रहते हैं। उसे मकान मालिक को देना या बिजली बिल देना या खाना या उसमें बचाना।